Welcome back to Relatable Wisdom, the podcast where everyday people share the quotes that have shaped their perspective on life, offering you daily glimpses of wisdom that might just shift how you see your own journey. Today's guest is Jeni Archer, a professional witch and spiritual connector from New Amcia, who's dedicated her life to helping others uncover their own inner wisdom. She's fascinated by what makes us tick as human beings and believes deeply in our power to transform ourselves from within. Let's step into Jeni's world and hear the words that have guided her path. Tell us your name and what you do.
So my name is Jeni Archer, and what I tell people I do is spiritual alchemist. So I help people change their lives in various different ways, everything from clinical hypnotherapy to past life regression, energy work, tarot. I do aura photography, all manner of things, anything that can help someone access their conscious or unconscious mind and shift their life.
Yeah. Okay. What's your favorite quote, Jeni?
My favorite quote is, "In a world where you can be anything, be kind."
Ooh, in a world where you can be anything, be kind. What does that mean?
So to me, I think it highlights the difference between being nice and being kind, right? So we think of them as the same thing quite often, but being nice is often being the peacemaker or subjugating your own needs or ignoring red flags just to keep things, smooth. Being kind is acknowledging a person and all of their pieces, where they come from, what their life experience has been, acknowledging all of that instead of tapping into spiritual bypassing. When you're kind to someone, it may look different being kind to one person than the other person because you're taking into account their entire being. And it's all about being honest and compassionate and empathetic.
You did mention something that's, I know you mentioned it in passing, but I just cannot let it go. You said being nice is quite different from being kind. Could you expatiate on that?
Yeah. So if I'm going to be nice to someone, it means I'm probably not going to say the truth. Let's say someone says, "Hey, I need to stay 2 weeks longer." They've come to visit you and they need to stay 2 weeks longer. And you have a whole bunch of things planned. You have all of this stuff lined up for work, for your family. And you say, "Oh, yeah, yeah, no, that's fine. Of course, that's fine." That's being nice. Being kind takes into consideration not only them, but you, your clients, and your family. So at that point, you tell them, "Hey, it's been so wonderful seeing you. If you want to extend your stay, I absolutely would love to have you around, but we're going to put you over here in a hotel so that we can go on with what we had planned." And now we're being kind to everyone. We're not telling them, "No, get out of my house. I don't want to see you. I'm done with you." But we're finding a way to take everything into consideration instead of just keeping the peace and then getting resentful about it after.
I mean, it's making sense now. Why do you think this quote resonates deeply with you? Why do you think this is your favorite quote?
I think because what I think we need right now is more kindness, less niceness, more kindness. I think we need more people being honest. I think we need more compassion and empathy and viewpoints that stem from equity and not equality. I think we need to be taking everything into account when we are having relationships with others around us. And I think that's our way forward.
In a world where you can be anything, be kind.
Yeah. Because it's a choice,
Now,
right? We can make
yeah, it is. It is. Bold one,
Yeah,
difficult one,
it
but
is.
it's a choice.
Often, yes. Yeah.
Yeah. Now, this quote is, when you say it's sweet, it's articulate, but it's a very hard quote, right?
It
To be
is
kind,
because
it's not easy.
it's not easy, especially when there are people around you being unkind. But that's where you get to employ the piece of it that is caught up in boundaries. So while you're being kind to them, you're also going to be kind to yourself. So sometimes being kind is just leaving the situation because nothing good is going to come out of any further conversation. So I'm just going to remove myself from this space in love and leave you to do whatever it is you need to do. But I don't have to sit in it. Now I'm being kind to myself and I'm being kind to you because I'm not going to say something I regret. So it is a
Yeah,
difficult concept for sure.
yeah. Would you be so kind to share with me 3 to 5 personal stories or instances where at the very moment in time it was very, very difficult to be kind. It was difficult to uh to what's the word? To stay true to the quote. Let's take a quick pause. If you're enjoying this conversation and want more thought-provoking ideas straight to your inbox, join the Relatable Wisdom email list. It's free, quick, and filled with bite-sized insights, inspiring quotes, and behind-the-scenes reflections from our guests. Just head to relatablewisdom.com/join. That is relatablewisdom.com/join, or tap the link in the show notes. And hey, subscribing to the podcast helps more than you think, and it's free. So if you haven't already, hit that follow button wherever you're listening. All right, let's get back to the conversation.
Right. So I grew up in the American South, and things are very different there for people who are. I'm married to a woman, and I'm a pagan. I'm a professional witch. So growing up in the South, those are things that are not very easily accepted or allowed. And there were many instances growing up where people would say horrible things. They would see me and my wife eating dinner and bang on the window and call us all kinds of names and things like that. Walk across the street so they didn't have to pass us as if it were, in those moments, being kind meant acknowledging their fear comes from somewhere. We're not born with that, right? So they're being taught that fear. They're afraid for a reason. And they're not acting out of hatred, they're acting out of fear because that's what's at the base of all of it. And so instead of lashing back out, instead of getting angry and engaging in an argument, my choice was always to send them love energetically. Like, I am sorry you're holding so much fear. That has to be so hard. This is what I'm sending to them. And I'm also not letting that energy get into my space. So I'm being kind to myself as well. So it's about those boundaries again. Okay, that's one. Yeah. Well, that was a lot of them that happened. Okay, you more like a lot of them combined and compressed into one. Okay. Yeah. And there were I used to own a metaphysical shop downtown and in the town where I live, and there was during COVID, there were people who were anti-mask and people who I owned a business, so I required anyone who came into my business to wear a mask. And there was a woman who opened the door and leaned in, didn't even come inside. She just leaned inside and screamed at me some horrible obscenities and then told me, I hope you're not here anymore in a year, because I asked her to wear a mask. And so I chose again not to engage. That was a moment where she's operating out of fear. And I have come to understand over many years that anger is just fear dressed up in a bunch of trench coats. That's all it is. It's just fear. And so she was angry at me, but she was really afraid because she didn't understand what was happening and the world was different around her. And so I just need space for that. And I told her to have a lovely day and she could shut the door behind her, please. Because in that moment, that was important to not engage. There are times when it's important to engage, to be kind instead of avoiding it. I've done a lot of protesting over the years for various different things, especially being in the South until about 7 years ago. And sometimes it's that point of speaking truth to power where I'm not just going to capitulate because you're in a position of authority. The kind thing is for me to explain to you the reality of how people are living and ask you to do something about it. That's kindness. Me just saying, yes, okay, no, it's fine, everybody will be like, that's not kindness, that's niceness, that's keeping the peace, it's not rocking the boat, and that's not what we're here to do. Yeah, it's good you mentioned that, because usually a lot of persons are protesting on the street, and then you see someone who's in a position to make change happen, right? Whatever the protest might be, the person shows up. Now, we don't know the intention of the person, but the person is trying to have a dialogue, like, okay, can you guys, I'm trying to talk to them and say, okay, what's the problem? What's happening? And you then see these people, they're shouting, and I'm like, wait, why are you protesting? Like, I'm like, I don't get it. Like, I'm trying to have a discourse here, right? The reason why you're doing the protest is to bring attention to the problem or what the case might be. And now you brought attention to it and we're trying to have a conversation, and you're not just making sense. You're just shouting, you're saying words, you just like, I'm like, it's as if if it was not for some reason, I feel threatened. I feel like in the next second you're about to attack me, and I'm like, what's going on? Like, and I'm like, okay, so why do you believe what you believe? What's happening? Why should this be done? What is this? What is that? And there is no, like,
It's like I don't know. Is it maybe let's just say sometimes people don't even know what they're protesting for. Sometimes, right? Not all the time, but because now you're like, I want to reason with you. Let's engage in a discourse. Let's hopefully I get to tell you why I'm doing what I'm doing, and then you get to tell me why I shouldn't be doing that. And
Right.
we exchange viewpoints. I can see from your perspective if you would be so kind to allow me to. But no, you're like, you are the weaker,
Yes.
and I'm like,
Yeah, kindness requires being uncomfortable because it's easier for them to shout at you than it is for them to just calmly explain their position and listen to yours as well, even if they don't agree with it. So you have to be willing to be uncomfortable. And the minute someone starts shouting, people aren't listening anymore.
yeah,
So once you've raised your voice, I've checked out. I'm not actually hearing you. I'm just hearing that you're yelling. Every single conversation gives you an opportunity to be kind or to be unkind because you're not ever able to script what the other person is going to say. And so if you're sitting with the attitude of my goal is to be kind, then no matter what they say, it's not going to dysregulate you. It's not going to throw you off your game. You remain solid in your energy and your center. They can say whatever they need to say. And then sometimes kindness is removing yourself from that. But a lot of times it's having those conversations like you were saying, like, okay, I hear what you're saying. I don't agree with it, but I can see why you would feel that way. Here's another way to maybe look at it. This is what I'm thinking. And then it becomes a dialogue. So every chance you have to have a conversation with someone is a chance to be kind. You've seen that quote, I'm sure. Everyone is fighting some battle we don't know about. So everyone that you're talking to is grieving something, is upset about something, has lost their job, has gotten a divorce, their kids aren't talking to something is going on in their life that they'll never tell you about. So choosing kindness means you're acknowledging that they're probably carrying wounds we can't see. And that way we're not activating those wounds. We're instead providing a safe space. If they're willing to be vulnerable and kind as well, we're providing a safe space for them to exist, even while carrying those wounds.
yeah. Thank you, Jenny. Earlier on, when you shared the quote, you did mention you differentiated between niceness and kindness, and it was such like a turning point. Like I was like, oh yeah, thank you, share that, because a lot of times when people hear in a world where we can be anything, be kind, the first thing that comes up in their head, what they think of kindness, what they imagine to be kindness, is actually being nice and not being kind.
Yeah. And we've had too much of nice, right? We've had too much of people saying things they don't mean to keep the peace, and then nothing gets solved and nothing changes. If we don't have those honest, open hearted conversations, nothing shifts. If we keep being nice to each other, everything just stays the way it is. And that's not moving forward. That's not progress.
Yeah, yeah. That's not moving forward. That's not progress. A world where you can be anything, be kind. Yeah. Usually, for most quotes, right, it's not very easy. And it's the reason why we keep going back to it again and again. And it's the reason why we keep reminding ourselves because how Marcus Aurelius said, he said, like, we need a reminder, right? So he would always wake up and write those quotes and all those things because he needed to remind himself over and over again. I want to ask because I'm curious and I know my listeners are curious too. Has it been that easy to be kind?
No, no, no. I'm a very passionate, fiery person. And so my initial programming is if someone challenges me or someone
Fire for fire.
yes, absolutely. But,
Uh,
that then everybody just, you burn everything down that way. And sometimes you wanna do that, but, it's not productive. So, no, this has taken me I'm almost 50 now, and this has taken me probably until the last decade and a half, 2 decades, since my 30s to really be able to embody it all the time, even when I'm being challenged or someone is being deeply unkind or cruel. But I would rather do that and have someone think, that I'm being weak or whatever ridiculousness because this takes more strength than anything, right? Other people's perceptions just don't matter as much. I know I'm being heart centered, empathetic, compassionate, and kind in every choice that I'm making. If they take that as weakness, that's okay. I'm not attached to how they see me, but I am attached to what kind of energy I'm putting out. So No, it has not always been easy at all,
Yeah.
but worth it. I will say worth it.
Yeah. I'm glad that I just like the fact that you're being honest, right? Because and I think that's the essence of your show, to get to have conversations that it's not in the mainstream media where people are like, oh yeah, you have to be this, and I'm like, and then when someone starts listening, they're like, well, is it that I think I'm broken because I cannot do the things that they do. I'm struggling with it, but the way they say it, it seems as if I'm not supposed to be struggling with it. So if I'm struggling with it, it means there's something wrong with me. And I'm like,
Mm.
dude, everyone has. It's not easy.
No, no, it's not. And it doesn't even it's not something that's pre-programmed, right? So when I say every conversation is a choice, kindness is not a default, right? Our little lizard brains go into survival mode when we're being challenged. So kindness is an override. Kindness is something you have to choose every single time, no matter how long you've been practicing it. So those people that are thinking they're broken because they're struggling with it, try again tomorrow. And tomorrow may work out, and the day after, you may not be able to do it, but then you try again the next day. Like, that's all we can do is try our best in each situation.
Yeah, thank you so much, Jenny. It's been an
Yeah.
absolute delight chatting with you. Where can my listeners learn more about you and what you do?
So my website would be the best place for them to go. It's got everything on there. It's hearthmagicshop.com. So HERTHMAGICK. So magic with a K. Shop.
Can you spell that again? Because right now, what you pronounced and what you spelled, they're quite different. So can you go
Yes.
over that again?
So Hearth Magic is the name of my business. So it's HEARTH, Hearth, and then Magic, MAGICK, and then shop. So hearthmagicshop.com. And they can find everything they need on there. It's links to the social media, my Substack, Discord server, all manner of things. There's free online classes on there, all kinds of things for them to look at.
Thank you so much. You've been listening to Relatable Wisdom, and I've been your host, Wisdom Okonkwo. You've been listening to the podcast where every story, quote, and insight helps you see life a little differently. If you enjoyed today's episode, follow the show on your favorite podcast app and share it with someone who loved the conversation. For more inspiring voices and timeless wisdom, visit relatablewisdom.com. Until next time, keep living, learning, and collecting wisdom that matters most to you.